Welcome back to the New World Playbook, where we dive deep into the untold stories that shaped our world. Today, we're looking at one of the most powerful and complex journeys in modern history, Africa after independence. If you're passionate about history, politics, and global change, make sure to like, share, comment, and of course, subscribe to stay updated. Let's get into it. A new dawn. When African nations began gaining independence in the 1950s and 60s, the mood was electric. Flags went up. National anthems were sung for the first time. It felt like a new era. Leaders like Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana, Jomo Kenyatta in Kenya, and Patrice Lumumba in the Congo stepped forward with bold dreams. They talked about African unity, self-reliance, and pride. People believed independence would lead to opportunity, equality, and prosperity. Schools were built, roads were paved, African identity was being reclaimed. But as you'll see, the road ahead was anything but easy. Political struggles. The first big challenge, politics. After independence, many African countries quickly fell into crisis and coups. Civilian governments were overthrown. Military leaders took over. Some, like Idi Amin in Uganda or Mobutu in Zaire, became brutal dictators. During the Cold War, the US and USSR played their own games, funding rebel groups, propping up regimes, and turning African nations into battlegrounds for global power. In theory, independence meant freedom. But in practice, many Africans lived under one-party states, suppressed media, and no real democracy. Still, a few countries like Botswana managed to stay relatively peaceful and democratic. But they were the exception, not the rule. The economic reality. Let's talk about the economy. At independence, most African nations were stuck with colonial economies, built to export raw materials like coffee, cocoa, or oil, and import expensive foreign goods. Many leaders tried bold new policies, state-owned industries, national development plans, but most economies struggled. Then came the debt crisis in the 1980s. The World Bank and IMF stepped in with structural adjustment programs, but they often made things worse. Schools closed, hospitals suffered, and poverty deepened. Foreign aid poured in, but so did corruption. Money was lost, and real development was slow. Society and culture, despite the challenges, the post-independence years weren't all dark. Education expanded. New universities opened. A generation of writers, musicians, and artists emerged. People started reclaiming their culture and languages. There was a strong sense of African identity, a rebirth of pride and purpose. But social tensions still existed. Ethnic divisions, often a legacy of colonial borders, led to conflict and even genocide in some places. Still, civil society grew stronger. Activists, journalists, and ordinary people began holding leaders accountable. Yale stories. Let's look at a few examples. Ghana started with huge hope, but after Nkrumah's fall, it went through military coups until stabilizing in the 1990s. South Africa ended apartheid in 1994. Mandela became president, and it was a turning point. But inequality still runs deep. Rwanda saw one of the darkest chapters in human history with the 1994 genocide. Today, it's rebuilt impressively, but with tight political control. Ethiopia, never fully colonized, still faced internal war and division, showing that independence doesn't automatically bring peace. So, what's the verdict? Independence was just the beginning. Africa's journey since then has been filled with highs and lows, liberation and conflict, poverty and progress, division and unity. But through it all, the spirit of the continent remains strong. Africa today is young, dynamic, and full of possibility. The future is still being written, and this time, by Africans themselves. What do you think? Did independence deliver on its promises? Let's talk about it in the comments. If you learned something new today, give us a like. Drop a comment and share your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe to the New World Playbook for more powerful stories from around the world. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.